To today's class, we want to look at continuation of quadratic equation today. So if you look at it for the past two lessons now, we have been looking at quadratic equation. We have explained what we mean by quadratic equation. We have also looked at a method, that's factorization method of solving quadratic equation. So today we want to proceed to another method, which is complete the square method of solving quadratic equation. So let's see, how do we go about that? So majorly for today, we want to look at the aspect of complete the square, like I said. So before we do that, we look at perfect squares. Perfect squares, what are perfect squares? Then at the same time, we want to see how we can complete the squares of algebra. So when you have an algebraic expression, how do we complete the square in such a case? So those are the aspects that we want to look at today. So what are perfect squares? I want to believe every one of you know what you mean by perfect squares. Can you just quickly remind us what you actually mean by perfect squares? So now majority of you can give examples, but you may not be able to define it. So when we say perfect square, it means any number that can be written as a square of another number, which is usually integer. So that is what you mean by perfect square. So an example. So an example is so these are numbers that can be expressed as the square of an integer. So examples. So we can have example as 1, because we can write 1 as what? 1 squared. Look at 1. 1 is same thing as 1 squared. 4 is same thing as 2 squared. 9 is same thing as 3 squared. 16 is same thing as 4 squared. So if you need the next perfect square, it means you should be talking about 5 squared. And what will 5 squared give us? That's 25. We can also talk about 6 squared. What will it give us? That's 36. We can also talk about 7 squared. That's what? 49. So those are perfect squares. Perfect squares. So let's move on. So I haven't understood what you mean by perfect squares. Let's see how we can see perfect squares in algebra. How do we get perfect squares in algebra? So complete the squares of algebra. So write out the result of, we want to be able to know the perfect squares in algebra. The best thing for us to do is what? Look at the expansions of squares in algebra. For example, when you look at the expansion of x plus 1, what will it give us? Expansion of, that's x plus 1 squared. You know, this is a perfect square since it can be expressed as square. This is square of a number. X plus 1 squared. We may have 2x minus 1 squared. So by the time you expand this, it means your result must be a perfect square, just like we had in this case too. 2 squared, it gave us perfect square. 3 squared gave us perfect square. So by the time I pick 2x plus 1 squared must also give me a perfect square. X plus 9 squared must also give me a perfect square. So that is what we are trying to say. So let's see. Let's see the results. We want to observe how perfect squares behave in algebra. So look at this. X plus 3 squared. When you expand this, we have been told that when you want to expand this, let me just remind us. X plus 3 squared means x plus 3 means x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 3. And by the time we are expanding that, we have said that x will multiply x, it will give you x squared. That same x will multiply 3, it will give us 3x. This 3 here, we also multiply x, to give us 3x. And then this 3 times 3 will give us 9. So at the end of the day, you see it as what? S squared plus 6x plus 9. So that is what you have here. So apart from this, we can also have x plus 1 squared. When you expand that, the same way we have done this, you are going to arrive at x squared plus 2x plus 1. When you expand x minus 4 squared, you arrive at x squared minus 8x plus 16. You can see that the last sign, the first sign will always be plus, plus. The last sign is also plus, 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 plus. But the middle one is changing. When this one is plus, the middle one is plus. When this is plus, this middle one is plus. But when this is minus, the middle one is minus. So let's still be observant. Let's still see. X minus 5 squared. You observe that it's still the same thing here. That's x squared minus 10x plus 25. Look at these two. You have also used an example of a fraction. X minus 7 over 2 squared. It gave us x squared minus 7x plus 49 over 4. I want to believe that we have learned expansion before. So I want you to go and try on your own. I've only done the expansion of this for us, of number 2 for us. So I want you to go and then try. Is it true that the expansion of x plus 1 will give us this? Is it true that the expansion of x minus 4 squared will give us this? So I want you to verify that, please. X minus 5 squared, is it true that the expansion will give us x squared minus 10x plus 25? So please verify that too. Then is it true that what expansion of x minus 7 over 2 squared will give us x squared? So I also want you to verify that. Now let's study this and come out with something tangible, so that subsequently when you want to find the squares of number, it's very easy to get. Now look at this x plus 1 squared. We realize that we have x squared plus 2x. Now, or let's say it like this. This is 1. The first number is x squared and the last number is 1 squared. You can see 1. The first number is x squared. The last number is 3 squared, 9. The first number is what? X squared. The last number is what? 4 squared, 16. X squared, 5 squared, 25. X squared, 7 over 2 squared, 49 over 4. Yeah. Now, how do we get the middle numbers? The middle number, you realize that if you multiply this one here by 2, you get the middle number. 3 times 2, 6. 2 times minus 4, minus 8. 2 times minus 5, minus 10. 2 times minus 7 over 2. You know, when you multiply 2 by minus 7 over 2, what happened? It gives you minus 7. So that is why we have that minus 7. So that is why we have that as the answer. So let's see whether we can also get some other thing. So let's see if you can get. So I think from here now we've been able to realize that even if you don't say anything about this, we only see this, realize that this is x squared, then half of this 2 is 1. This is 1 squared. Half of 6 is what? Is 3. 3 squared will give us this. Half of 8 is this 4. 4 squared will give us 16. Half of 10 is this 5. 5 squared will give us this. Half of 7 over 2 minus 7 over 2 is this 7 over 2. And the square of it will give us this. I want to believe you understand my explanation. Let me go back again. So in case I have only this one here, only the right hand side, maybe I'll be given just 2 of this. I should be able to produce others. So what I'm saying is that look at this. I have x squared plus 2x. So to get a perfect square, I just need to add half of this. Half of 2 is 1. 1 square must be added to this. Half of 6 is what? Is 3, which is this one. Then 3 square is this. Half of 8 minus 8 is this minus 4 here. Minus 4 square is 16. Half of minus 10 here is what? Minus 5. Minus 5 square is what? 25. Half of 7 minus 7 is minus 7 over 2. Minus 7 over 2 square. And likewise of these two, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared. So in case you have been asked, so look at this question now. It said, what must be added to the following to make it a perfect square? X squared minus 4x. You can see they just give us x squared minus 4x. We want to know whether it's the perfect square. From our conclusion here, we can conclude that x squared plus 2x plus 1, which is same thing as x plus 1 squared, is a perfect square. X squared plus 6x plus 9 is a perfect square. X squared minus 8x plus 16 is a perfect square. X squared minus 10x plus 25 is a perfect square. X squared minus 7x plus 49 over 4 is a perfect square. So we want to see what will you add to this one? What constant will you add to this one to make it a perfect square? Like I've explained here, what we just need to do is what? Half of the coefficient of x, which will give us minus 2. So what you must add to this is what? Minus 2 squared. And that will give us what? Plus 4. So it means for this one to be a perfect square, it should be x squared minus 4x plus 4. X squared minus 4x plus 4. So it is 4 that must be added to x squared minus 4x to make it a perfect squared. There's another one here. X squared minus 5x. So what must be added? So just look for the half of what? Minus 5. What's half of minus 5? That's minus 5 over 2. Square it. So it means it should be what? X squared minus 5x plus 25 over 4. So it means it is 25 over 4 that must be added to it to make it a perfect square. We also have another one here, x squared plus 9x. So what must be added? Same manner. That's half of what? Half of 9. Half of 9 will be what? 9 over 2. Square it. So it should give us x squared plus 9x plus what? 81 over 4. So 81 over 4 must be added. So that is what we are trying to say there. So we still need to take more examples, and what we are going to do is let me take us to our app, so that we can do some other exercise there. I think it should assist us. That's our ISL app. For those that have it, so you just go to isl.com and go to algebra. Let me try to share my screen so that we can see, so as to guide some of us with it. If you see, at least we still have a few days. The one I have, I still have a few days before it expires. So you can contact me if you need, so that okay, so that's algebra. Okay, you can see my screen now. Okay, algebra. So that's under quadratic equation. Okay, so this is quadratic equation. We are going to look at complete a function. No, that is there's a place. Okay, yeah, complete the square. So let's see. Before we can now solve a complete the square method. So complete the square here. That's BB9. Okay, look at this. Complete the square. Find the number that makes the polynomial a perfect square. So what do we do? Half of 30. What is half of 30? 15. 15 square will give us 225. I hope you understand again. So we said from our explanation, we said we are going to find half of the coefficient of z. So which is 15. Then you square it. 15 square. That's 225. Okay. Half of minus 4 is 2 minus 2. Minus 2 square will give us 4. Half of minus 12 is what? Minus 6. Minus 6 square give us 36. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared will give us 16. Half of minus 28 is 14. 14 square will give us 196. Half of minus 22 is what? 11. Minus 11. Minus 11 squared, 121. Half of 12. 12. Half of 12 is 6. 6 squared will give us what? 36. So half of 16 is what? 8. Good. So what is 8 square? 8 square will give us 64. Half of minus 24 is what? 12. That's minus 12. Minus 12 square will give us 144. So the next one, half of minus 20 is what? Minus 10. Minus 10 square will give us 100. Half of minus 6. Also, half of minus 6 is what? Minus 3. Minus 3 square will give us what? Plus 9. So half of 14 is what? Is 7. 7. So 7 square will give us 49. Half of 20 is 10. 10 squared will give us what? 100. So half of 18 is 9. 9 squared is what? 81. Half of 18 is what? Is 9. 9 square. Half of minus 18 is 9. So minus 9 square will still give us what? 81. Now look at this. Half of 15. Half of 15 is what? You know, in this case now, half of 15 will be 15 over 2. So it's 7.5 actually, but it's better you put it as 15 over 2. So 15 over 2 squared will give us 15 squared is 225. 2 squared is 4. So that's 225 over 4. 225 over 4. I hope you get that again. I hope you get that again. So 15 over 2. 15 over 2 square it. 15 square is 225. 2 square is 4. So the same thing here. Minus 13 over 2. Square it. 13 square is 169. 2 square is 4. So that's 169 over 4. So minus 12 square is what? Is 6 minus 6. Minus 6 square is what? 36. And here 9. Half of 9 is 9 over 2. 9 over 2 squared. That would be 9 square is 81. 2 square is 4. That's 81 over 4. So minus 6 over 2 is minus 3 square. Give us 9. Look at this. Nothing is here. Which means it is what? Invisible 1. So divided by 2. That will be 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 squared will be equals to 1 squared 1, 2 squared 4. That will be 1 over 4. So and so on and so forth. I think we have been able to look at that. I've been able to look at that. So in our next class, we want to, today's class is very short. I want you to go and perfect that word very well. Here too, what do? Just square it. This is what we need in our next class. So if you have not mastered this, it's going to give us a lot of challenge to be able to cope with our next class. And that is using quadratic equation, using the complete square method to solve quadratic expression or quadratic equation. So minus 20 over 2 here is also what? Minus 10. Minus 10 squared, that's 100. So we can see that this one is a little bit simple. Half of minus 3 is minus 3 over 2. Minus 3 over 2 squared will give us 9 over 4. So, and so on and so forth. So these are the few things that we have for us today. So I'm going to give you some things to work on as assignments now. So let's try as much as possible. Make sure you do the assignment. It's very, very important. So those are some of the things that will assist us against tomorrow's class. So the assignment. Okay, minus 10, half of it is minus 5. Minus 5 squared, that's 25. Okay, let's try to finish this. Minus 5 squared. Sorry, minus 5 over 2. That's square it. That will be 25 over 4. So that is that. So now we are going to stop here. Let me just give us assignment. So for my assignment, you are going to do this. Okay, no. Let me look for 12 squared. Half of 24 is 12. 12 squared, 144. This is simple. Yeah. So this assignment number 1. Assignment number 1. So it means from our first assignment, we have the z squared. What must be added? 27z. So what must be added? That's question 1. Question 2. If you have z squared minus 13z, what must be added? S squared minus 5 over 2. They didn't consider this, although. Plus what must be added? Don't forget, you pick anything you have here, find half of it, square it. Half of this, square it. Half of this, square it. So s squared minus 7 over 3 x over 5 s squared plus 11 over 5 x plus what must be added? X squared plus 13/4 x plus what must be added? And lastly, x squared plus 21/5 x plus what must be added. So these are the few questions I want you to take as assignment. So make sure you, as soon as you have done it, you can pass it to me. Let me see what you have done. I want you to actually deal with this very well. These are some of the things that will assist us to understand our next lesson very, very well. So please make sure you do the assignment and get back to me. Feed me back on it. So have a wonderful day. Thank you. Let's try as much as possible to take these things very serious. They will assist us by the time we resume school. Thank you.